fifth and final race of this opening weekend on the 44th Eberspecher World Cup Luge season. It's the BMW Sprint World Cup. Men, doubles, and women all coming your way. The top 15 sleds from the weekend of World Cup competition. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer on a very foggy day here outside of Innsbruck, Austria. I'm coming to you from our studios in Vermont, USA, and pleased to introduce my broadcast partner. 30 years ago, we worked our first World Cup sliding event in Calgary, Canada, and still going strong. Welcome to the commentary, John Morgan.
Well, Tim, it's always a pleasure to work with you, and especially in these extraordinary circumstances. We're broadcasting from our own houses. Innsbruck, a track we know well, the Olympic track built for the 76 games, the first artificially cool track used for an Olympic Games. And sprint's a little different, Tim. If there's such an emphasis on the start in the sport, it's good to see that they've implemented this type of a competition. And you've done many of these sprints, and it's the same cast of characters we're going to see.
Well, it is the same cast of characters as Reini Yeager gives us our point of view look. We'll talk a bit about the differences in competition. Tell us a little bit more about this track and Eagles as Reini passes that women's start on the left.
Well, again, it was the first artificially cool track they built, and a combination track, the 76 Olympics. The only competition, Olympic competition after that to have two separate tracks was in my hometown here in Lake Placid, where they had a separate artificial loose track, and the bobsled track, they sort of built it into the ground, the old track, and refrigerated that. But this was a game changer in the sport, where both sports compete on the same track. Of course, there's always a discussion about different ice for luge than there is for bobsled. A little bumpier for bobsled, but this track, Tim, I was trying to think. There's no track that I've been at more, other than my home track of Lake Placid, than this track here in Innsbruck. And I'm sure for you also, Innsbruck's right up there in the amount of appearances and the work you've done at.
Well, it's one of those special locations that hosts a World Cup every season. They don't really have to bid or posture for it. It's just one of those places athletes like to go to. And Jason Turdeman was telling me that this is his favorite spot in the world. Nice city nearby, beautiful mountains. And here we go with the men's competition. The first up from Germany, this is Max Langenhahn. He finished 15th yesterday in the two-heat World Cup. Still a relatively young athlete from the Oberhof region. You know, John, of course, Germany is so strong in this sport, and in no small part because it has 4 different tracks.
Yeah, it's like putting 4 tracks in New England and New York State in the United States, and it's quite an area. The sprint, Tim, again, looked different. It's not such an emphasis on the start. There's where the time starts right there, the red and green, and not an Olympic sport, Tim, but the number of times I've covered it now, it is a little different, interesting presentation of the sport. And it gives some people that you don't see atop the leaderboard a little bit more of a chance.
This is curve number 9, one of the cruxes of this course, and they shoot down to the lower labyrinth.
So he did not compete in the team competition, which was half hour ago, and Germans barely won by 300ths.
Incredible performance there. He doesn't have to hit the paddle. That's kind of good news. Max Langenhahn down safely. His time is 32.936.
Yeah, it's hard to reference the way we know the track and the times. The sprint sort of is a challenge for us. There's the big curve 10. Look at those lines. He's right on the lines, and then they exit into the 3-corner combination. The labyrinths down there where, Tim, we know a lot of action down there at high speed in this sport.
No doubt about it. And there are a lot of tricky parts on this track. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, we'll set the stage for the first of the Russians, Alexander Gorbatsevich, 4th place finisher last year at the World Championships on his home track in Sochi. So, John, the way this works is the clock starts a little bit down, and you'll see the lights go off on the track. And to the point you were making earlier, what it does is it sets the table for some athletes, some more additional athletes to make their way onto the podium. The athletes that you call the bottom gainers, the speed demons.
The gliders.
That's right.
People know how to get on that sled and make themselves small and just meld into it. And, it's It was a good idea. I think it's, it's growing but Tim, how many times do we have the sprint the same day as the team?
This is only the second time I recall that there are 3 World Cup races in one day, as Gorbatsevich crosses the finish line, 33.113, quite a bit behind Langenheim.
Is that a better run for Langenheim or a bad run for Gorbatsevich?
Tough to tell right now. For these athletes, for one thing that's changed at the Eagles track is there are a lot of tricky spots. You remember it used to just be curve 9, right?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of tricky spots in that doubles event yesterday, Tim. I was pretty surprised, especially around that first curve.
Yeah, the entrance to Kreisel, you don't have a lot of speed working there, so you can ill afford a problem. Now Reine Eger, the first of the Austrians, he was all but done about 4 or 5 years ago with just an awful back injury, but he came all of the way back. Eger has now won 2 World Cup races the last 2 seasons.
Be quiet on your sled. Up here, the speeds are slow. And to the sport that's 1,000th of a second, it's time to NMA. No mistakes allowed.
Ooh. This is the Kreisel curve. You like to say the Kreisels are a slingshot, John.
Well, that's the only way you can approach it. You have to, you go in slower and you should come out faster. And it sort of launches you to the bottom part of the track. And this 3/4 combination, the labyrinths, this is the high speed exit of 10 into 11. Finish, TV doesn't do it justice how steep that uphill section is. So
in the lead with a time of 32.807 with Wolfgang Kindl up next. They move these things along really quickly. That's part of the design of the sprint. Not only a sprint on the track, but a sprint from one sled to the next.
Look at his head. He looked a little bit, looked pretty comfortable. His home track. He should be comfortable on this track. Anybody.
Now, one of your favorites is coming up next. It's Reine's teammate, Wolfie Kindl. And Kindl really, he exemplifies what this sprint might be all about. John, you remember Maya Pedersen and Noel Picus Pace in Skeleton. They didn't have the great starts, but somehow they found speed on their way down.
Well, I call them, speed masters, and he's one of them. Tim, that good run he had out there in North America a couple years ago, the season started, he won like 2 of the 3 first events, in Whistler too. He's diminutive in size. He almost looks to me like a jockey. And right now he's been riding this sled well, riding his horse well, and he's very successful in his own right.
Yeah, there is no one prototype body in the sport of luge. Case in point, George Hackl standing next to Armin Zugler. 2 very different frames.
Different bodies, yeah.
2 of the greatest. Okay.
Just get on that sled and meld into it.
It's close, just 700s back at the last split. Now uphill to the finish here in Eagles 32.906. Just about a 1/10 of a second behind his teammate Reinhard Eger.
Well, a couple of Austrians at the top of the leaderboard. Some formidable sleds yet to come. These lines, looks pretty good.
Not bad at all. Hey, if you're just tuning in live and you have questions for sliding sports expert Sean Morgan, you can tweet me at Luge Announcer. Feel free to email me as well, luge.announcer@gmail.com. Your questions, your comments, your criticisms, and your insights. Now up from Latvia, Arturs Darznieks.
World Cup bobsledding going on right now, same time, 2-man bobsled up in Latvia. It just amazes me that this small nation of Latvia, Tim, is so successful in the sliding sports.
Dating back to when you first covered bobsleigh as an announcer at the Olympics, 1984, and Latvia won a bronze medal there as part of the Soviet Union.
That was the USSR, but those were Latvian athletes.
Exactly.
And then Janis Kippers, the Latvian, went on to win the gold medal in Calgary in '88, and then by then in '92 it was Latvian athletes, and they have built quite a presence in these sliding sports.
And in all 3 disciplines in luge over the past couple of years, men's, women's, and doubles, Darznieks trailing the Austrians by quite a bit at this point. This could be 3rd or 4th place. 4th, 33.
That's
1/4 of a second back.
That's a lot of time on this. Of course, it is a lot of time. It's 32 seconds of time, Tim. It's not the normal 55 or whatever the finish times were. But little problem there. So he got in there late. A little bit more steering. There's the leader.
Yeah, that's called covering your face in a pandemic. They've done a great job here, John, as we get ready for the world champion, Roman Rapilov, now on track. How about the job they've done just to make this event happen? Every athlete tested negative.
Well, you have to start with the FIL. What a challenge the administration had to organize with the COVID restrictions. And then you got to go to the organizer, or the World Cup organizers here in Innsbruck, a major city. A lot of it on lockdown, and then of course the athletes themselves are adhered to the rules. And Tim, same thing up in Sigulda with the bobsled world and the IBSF. Congratulations to everybody to get to this stage. Oh, little
big skid
there. He got on too early. Tim hit the flat part of the take-on, and that threw him over. That's going to cost him.
He was already in the red. That problem between 8 and 9 is just going to move him further back.
It's been a problem all the way down.
Yeah, it's been a very forgettable opening weekend for the Russians. Rapilov finishing in 10th yesterday. His teammate Tatiana Ivanova 20th today in the women's luge competition. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, exit the slingshot effect out of Kreisel into 8. Watch that little bump. See, he got on there too early, and then the spray comes up. That is a mistake you don't expect out of a world champion, Tim. Especially on this track.
Roman Rapilov, 6th place out of 6. Okay, next his teammate, also a world champion, Semen Pavlichenko on course. John, it's getting foggier. Vali Cretu of Romania just texted me another photo. Says it's the worst it's been all day.
It seems since I started looking at it an hour ago, Tim, hour and a half ago when you were doing the team, seems like the fog's getting worse. Which means it's getting warmer. And when you get warm, that causes it. But I don't think it affects the athletes.
Pavlichenko with 12 career World Cup victories. That's second among active men. They call him fly or die, not a term you like to use in this sport, but he keeps that head all the way back. He never looks up, John.
Well, he doesn't look up so far. Great exit out of Kreisel. Hasn't done anything wrong yet, but his time, and he's in the green. So he's had his head back since the exit of Kreisel, and he's going to get paid some dividends here with the lead.
6 thousandths up at the last split, 12 thousandths up here, 100th of a second. Semen Pavlichenko, really the first solid Russian run we have seen for the men at least this weekend.
Wow, look at his head back. Very comfortable on the sled, Tim. And he knows, yes, it's 100th or 12 thousandths of a second.
Now Krista Zapriots on course, the 22-year-old from Sigulda, 5th place finisher at the World Championships last year.
Well, when you can't see the sled in curve 110, we definitely have fog rolling in. But up there where the speeds are slow, the athletes almost could do it with their eyes closed. Some of these people have been down this track so often. I think there's been more people down this track than any track in the world. Of course, they might have a few more ascents, but it's always great to come here and you see the little 6, 7, 8-year-olds walking around with loose. Big problems there.
Big problem between 9 and 10. Tough exit of curve 9, and just like that, it goes from green to red.
His head's up, not comfortable. Get to the bottom safely and think about the next event.
Yeah, he shows his frustration.
Shows frustration there, yeah.
Yeah, Krista Zaprio's back in 4th place, and it could have been a contending run.
Yeah, he still beat Longerman by 100th of a second, so without that mistake, could have been single digits. He could have been in the top 3. This didn't help. Here, exit, again, you want a slingshot effect on the exit here. Here he's late. You can see that right there. That's the problem. Drift, touch the wall. It's not what you want to do in this sport.
Already on course, the first of the Italian cousins. This is Kevin Fischnaller. And John, speaking of Italy, they are rebuilding that track in Cortina. You've got to be about as excited as anyone to be returning to the Dolomites.
Well, the Cortina is a special place in the sliding sports, and great to have Luge there. I did see somebody go down a luge sled at the old Cortina track. One of the give that guy quite a medal. But they're going to redo the track. They're still having some issues with design from what I hear. Don't know enough about it, but it's a special place for sliding, that's for sure, Tim.
Fischneller, 100th up at the last split. Now he exits curve 9 into the lower S's.
Fast, green numbers.
Yep.
124 kilometers an hour.
78.3 miles
fast.
per
That's
hour.
quick.
Yes.
So Fischneller, this is almost his home track here, Tim. So
yeah, absolutely is. For all of the Sud-Tyroleans, who of course are all the Italian team, this has been their home track, although they spent some time, I'm not sure if you knew this, John, they spent some preseason time this year in Cesana. So the track still lives in some capacity.
Really? I think at Cesana it was just a push track there, wasn't it?
Maybe it's just a push track.
I think it was just a push
Okay.
track, but I did see some training. I saw some bob and skeleton athletes. I think that was the push track.
Okay.
Great. They had a great push track there.
That would make more sense. Nico Gleicher, the two Gleicher brothers, also in the top 6 yesterday, and Nico's on course now, the 23-year-old.
Again, it's the sprint competition, so the time doesn't start until down here, right there, red to green. Now the time comes into effect. 82 kilometers speed. It's there, which is about 52 miles an hour.
Exactly, 51.3, but
oh,
it's tapped
troubles
right there.
before Kreisel. That is going to sentence him to red numbers here pretty quick. There it is. And now it's just, you have to block it out of your mind. He puts his head back there. He's got nothing to lose now, but he's going to be, hopefully, to stay in the top 5. 2100s back. Maybe tops 5 or 6 if he's lucky. You can't lose time like that up there where the speeds are slow.
7th place.
7.
Hey,
You
so
know,
one thing we're missing, John, are all of the spectators, of course, due to the pandemic, but we're missing the most Gerhard and Sabine Gleicher. Nico and David's parents, they are probably the 2 biggest supporters of Austrian luge. It's too bad they can't be here to watch their sons compete.
Yeah, there's that exit before Kreisel made the mistake. Maybe was looking too far down the track and forgot where he was, but you probably won't make a mistake like that on this track ever again. I mean, that's not up there where the speeds are slow. Here, look at his head back. Look at the form there. He went for it after that, but the mistake was made. You can't gain time on the way down. You can only prevent yourself from losing time.
Well, 1/3 of the field today are Austrians, 5 of the 15 competitors. And here's our next, Jonas Müller, the winner of the World Cup opener in Eagles last year. Jonas finished 5th in yesterday's World Cup race.
Good speed, 82.8 kilometers, any high 82 speeds there at the entrance to the speed trap. But he makes an uncharacteristic mistake also, that drift above the Kreisel, just like his teammate.
26 thousandths up. Nice exit of curve 9. He goes or stays in the green, so that's good. So
Good numbers there. He's flat and back on his sled, 126 clicks. This is a fast time. This could be a leader.
He is.
Yes, 500s.
And John, you mentioned how he was flat back on the sled. Marcus Prock, the sport director for Austria, said what Jonas's specialty is looking relaxed on the sled.
Hey, if you're shooting pool, looking relaxed, anything you do in sport, the more relaxed you are, the better opportunity you have to be successful. And Tim, he made that mistake too in the entrance to Kreisel. Here, it looks like a little spray there when he came off. 9, and then he set himself up well for 10. He flew in the bottom, big speed.
Now David Gleicher, the Olympic medalist, the Olympic gold medalist with also 2 World Cup victories. Gleicher on course. He was faster than anyone all week in training. I'm wondering if he was
the look on everybody's face when he won that gold medal. I was standing right there in the finish area. Everybody was stunned. Then Locke came down and could maintain, at the run breaker on the exit of 9 there, that mistake. And, Tim, I've been to a lot of Olympics. It was a pretty eerie, special moment when he won that gold medal.
Absolutely, and it was a tough track to master, but there were a select few athletes that really were dialed in on that Pyeongchang track.
I'd like to know what the odds were for him winning the gold medal, Tim. Might have been 100 to 1.
thousandths of a second his advantage at the last split. Let's see if he can open that up. And he holds on by 3 thousandths
of a second.
It's Austria 1-2 in the standings, separated by, I do not know what the distance would be there, John.
I can't fathom it, Tim, but the Olympic gold medalist puts himself in a position to medal here at this event on his home track. I mean, we talk about home track advantage, Tim. I think we're seeing it with the two Austrians at the top of the leaderboard, but the two of them are basically almost tied, 3 thousandths of a second. It's almost cruel, thousandths of a second separation.
That's right, and as you mentioned, it's Austria 1-2, but the final 3 sleds, none of them from the home country. First up, Dominik Fischnaller of Italy.
Well, I could say this is his home track also, but let's see what kind of speed he's got here. 82 what? Ooh, 82.1, that's low speed. 82.6 is what? Just 82.8.
Fischnaller, he has 6 career World Cup victories, I believe, on 5 or 6 different tracks, so that's a versatile competitor.
300 lead, pretty substantial. 10, now the bottom part of the track, 3/4 combination, the labyrinths, high speed. He's got the best speed, he's got the lead. No mistakes here, he'll be the leader.
Uphill to the finish, and he drops back 2 spots.
Where was that? Must have been in the labyrinths, Tim, because he had great speed, 300ths of a lead, entering the last 100 meters of the track.
Yeah, I didn't see a mistake, John.
Didn't see it.
But let's not forget, on a foggy, humid day, the sled setup, the runners, they also factor into this.
Well, where did it go wrong? A little high there, Tim.
But again,
a little
maybe
high there in the finish.
Could it be just the equipment? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so. Something happened in the fog that we didn't see.
All right, 2 remain. David Gleicher is on the podium, that's for sure. Now 2 Germans. Johannes Ludwig first up, the Olympic bronze medalist from Oberhof.
Well, he's got something to shoot for, of course. And you see those green-red lights here. Look at the speed on your right. 82.2, similar to the sled that just came down. Not the leader speed. But he is in green numbers. A little bit of drift there. 7-8 now into Kreisel. Good exit. 8, 9. Exit of 9. Good. Head back. Very confident. Red numbers, though. Still red numbers.
I've got to wonder whether this track is starting to feel the effects of 100 or so sleds that have come down.
700s.
Because we have seen the last 2 sleds, John, fall well behind on the last few curves without any noticeable mistakes.
But Gleicher, he was only like 4 or 5 sleds ago. So
yeah, that's true.
I don't think the track falls apart as quickly in Luge as it does in bobsled. The bigger sleds are skeleton, the smaller sleds. But good exit here. This is as quiet an exit. Head back. That's 5-star right there. I don't know where he lost it.
Okay, this boils down to our final sled. The 3-time Olympic gold medalist Felix Loch of Bavaria. He came all the way back from a couple of seasons slumping with his first victory yesterday in the men's competition.
Well, you see you said 29 victories he's got now in World Cup?
No, Felix has 40, second only to Armin Zugler.
Francisco Friedrich up here in bobsledding, he's got like 29 victories at his age too, so you got a couple superstars in the sport of bobsled and luge, and this is the luge superstar here, and he's in green numbers, had the great speed, he's got 300ths lead, but we've seen that evaporate on a couple previous sleds right here.
I don't know, Felix has been looking just near perfect.
Pulling away, big speed. This has got to be the winner right here, Tim.
Second fastest speed at 78.7 miles an hour. Felix Loch makes it 2 for 2. Actually 3 for 3 when you consider the team relay.
It's another day at the office for Felix. 3 gold medals in 2 days.
All the way back. So how about Felix Loch, his 41st career World Cup victory, John? Keep in mind, you hear them sometimes as we take a look at what he does best. They talk about postseason wins. Felix has got those 41. He trails Armin Zugler still by 16, but Zugler never had the sprint in which to pad his World Cup overall titles.
True.
So it is impressive what Armin has done, and it will still be 2 or 3 years, even given that, before Felix could catch him conceivably.
There's a gold medalist, and hey, what Armin Ziegler did, we talk about the GOAT, the greatest of all time. He's what he accomplished in that sport over 5 Olympics, winning medals. Six Olympics.
Yeah.
Spectacular what that Northern Italian accomplished.
Locke takes it as the final sled down, completing the sweep for the weekend. The trifecta of gold medals. Gleicher and Mueller put the Austrians in the other 2 spots. And in many ways, these results in the sprint competition, despite the different format, very much mirrored yesterday's World Cup full field race. Maybe the equally big surprise is Roman Rapilov,